Okay, that's really close. I definitely need a new lens because I don't think anyone wants to see my face this close up, nor should they. Okay, new lens on the way. Let's go. How's everybody doing? And welcome to another video. This is the first day not working on the 3000 GT. We're working on the Mazda Speed 3 today, and we're doing a free mod. Yes, that's right. It's not a power mod, it is an aesthetic mod, but it's a big one that most people do to these cars that really helps with the look, and it is completely free. It's kind of like debadging. We're not doing badging. We are taking a piece of, well, let me just show you, just trust me. We're working in the garage today because it's still cold out. I don't know why a month ago it was 70, and now in March, it's back down into the 20s. But anyway, we gotta move this car out and get the Mazda in here.
It's cold.
One quick thing before we get started, I want to take my carbon fiber Mishimoto shift knob out of the 3000 GT and put it in the Speed 3. I got it. So about this Mishimoto carbon fiber shift knob. I didn't get this with the 3000 GT. This was a gift and it goes in every car that I own. So we're putting it back in the Speed 3. This is genuine carbon fiber. I know carbon fiber on a shift knob is kind of counterintuitive because you want a shift knob to be heavy so you can roll through the gears faster. But it's just plated in carbon fiber. It is a heavyweight shift knob underneath. The carbon fiber is just style, but it is a genuine carbon fiber weave plated around the shift knob. Now with that out of the way, let's get on to the actual purpose of this video. So what free aesthetic mod am I doing to clean up my car? I'm going to be removing the mid-door rails on the car. Every first gen Mazda Speed 3 has this. I'm not totally sure if the second gen does. Doesn't matter for my purposes anyway. The rails are glued on much like badges are, so it's essentially the same step as debadging, just you're going to have a lot more residue to take off once the rail is actually off. I did take one rail off camera already because it had been broken since I bought the car, and I just ripped it right off. The other ones aren't going to be as simple. So what you'll need to do this job, you'll need razor blades, needle nose pliers, and guts, because you are going to be ripping a piece off your car and you could potentially dent the door if you bend the piece in too much as you're pulling it off. So the reason for the needle nose pliers is that the door railing is connected by two strips and it has an indentation in the middle on the back. So the needle nose pliers will sit right in between the two strips and you can pull back and out without ever touching the car with the needle nose pliers, and it'll just be peeling off the adhesive. Then you're going to want to use your razor blade to very gently take off the rest of the adhesive, sometimes with a lubricant, either Goo Gone, or in my case I'm going to use 15:1 very gentle hand soap and water. You guys can see it right here. You can see my messy handwriting. It's hard to tell, but it says soap and H2O. I use this in detailing just to soak messy cup holders and things like that. So this is in one of my nice bottles for detailing, but it's going to work perfectly for our purposes. Now I'm going to get to work with the needle nose pliers to get the first or second door railing off, because the first one came off camera. But I'm going to show you guys the first one and then we'll go through them all. All set. Now it's very important to note when you use these razor blades, you want to be very careful. You want to make sure the blade isn't digging in. If my finger was the door, you want to make sure it's not digging in like this. You're staying as flush as you can, scraping along the side, just getting off the adhesive, not digging in to the paint, the clear coat, or the car. Now you want to be very gentle when you do this. Take your time, be very slow, because you can, especially with the corners of the blade, catch the door. So you want to keep it as parallel as you can with the adhesive while making sure you're staying away from the door. You want to make sure you're lifting up across from the door rather than digging into it. Just like that, we got the first bits of it off. It's going to take a while. You want to be patient, especially when you get closer to the door so you don't scratch your car. One thing I highly recommend when you're dealing with your razor blade is rather than just holding it like this, if this is your door, and going like this, you want to put your fingers behind as thin as you can, just get your fingertips, and rest your fingernails against the door like this. So you're never getting too deep. You're making sure you have a guide and you hold it up near the blade, and then you're going like this, very gently, very careful, so you're just getting the adhesive and not scratching your car. Because that is the most important part. This is free, but you could totally screw up your door in an instant if you're not careful. Now is the time, now that I've gotten the first layer of adhesive off, to start lubricating, because the closer I get to this paint, the more I don't want the friction of the blade. It's just like wet sanding. You start sanding a fresh paint job with just sandpaper, you're gonna really screw up all the work you just put in. But if you wet sand, you have lubrication and you can just take off the things you want to without being too abrasive. So again, I'm using 15:1, very gentle hand soap and water. With this, you can kind of go all out, but if you're gonna use something like Goo Gone, make sure you don't put too much on your car, because it is really bad for clear coat and it's not gonna wash off for quite a while. Just hand soap and water. I'm gonna really get it on there because I don't have to worry about this soap being abrasive on my clear coat. And then now I have the lubrication to get deeper without worrying about scratching my paint. And look at how quickly that's gonna start coming off. Look at that. You can already see I'm making a really big impact. I'm down to just the last little bit in some of these sections, and in some cases, you're probably gonna wanna switch up the way you're holding the blade because you're not gonna be able to get down the way you need to while protecting with your hands. So this is where you're gonna have to be a lot more careful. You're gonna have to hold the blade a lot more flush and push in with your thumb, hold them like this, and just be very careful. Take your time. You see, it's hard to see with the camera, but I'm taking off just a little bit and I'm not touching the paint at all. And you can see we're going less and less. I've already got it off all the way over here. So we'll just keep going up. Keep sticking at it and taking little bits off at a time. And now we're almost gone in this one little section. So this isn't good. So I didn't know this because it was behind the railing originally, but there is a small indentation here just past the railing. It's not up or below, but it dents in just a little bit here. It's just enough that I can't glide the blade across it very well. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this. I'm going to try using the blade for now, being very, very careful. Every time I try, I start catching in on the paint, which isn't good. So I might have to just very aggressively clay this until it's gone. So a little update on getting rid of the adhesive around this dent. So it's literally just enough length. I can't come up this way either because it stops on either end of the razor blade in both ways. So there's a gap above the blade and the adhesive I need to get rid of. I don't have any smaller razor blades. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this for now. I'm gonna see if I can get this off with a power washer and some soap and some good old-fashioned elbow grease. Now I'm going to move on to the other door on this side, which already has the rail off, get all this adhesive off, and then we'll move on to the other side, which still has the two rails left on. So a quick update, I turned the camera off while I finished up the driver's side because it was exactly the same as doing the other door, which you already saw. I did run into a small problem. So what happened was I ended up having a little bit of waving behind the door rail, and what I think may have happened was when I was pulling up in chunks, I was pulling a little too hard and it may have just slightly made the door concave in those specific spots where I pulled the chunks off when I was originally pulling the door rail off. I couldn't notice it even when I ran my hand across the door, so it was very, very subtle, but it was enough to make the very, very straight blade not be able to get everything perfectly. I got about 90% of everything off. You can't see it from 5 feet. I'm gonna do the same solution as the small dent on the rear driver's side door, where the next time I detail the car, I'm gonna get it all off with the power washer and the car soap and sponge and just elbow grease. My garage is quite small and there's a lot less space on the other side of the car, so I can't exactly get the camera back there. I have just enough space to get myself to work. And it's exactly the same process that you just saw. And no one really wants to watch me do this 4 times anyway. So we're gonna skip ahead, and either there's gonna be an update on another problem that's come up, or I'm gonna be done. So let's skip ahead now. And just like that, welcome back. The other side was super easy. I got the rails off without breaking them off at all, so I didn't have that indentation problem like I was having on the front driver's side. I did leave it slightly with a little bit of residue left, just like the front driver's side, because I was starting to catch more often than I would have liked, and I just wasn't gonna risk scratching the paint. I'm really happy with how this is coming out so far. I know it's technically not done because I have to wash off and get rid of the rest of the residue, but I'm going to save that for a detailing video, because if you don't already know, this car is going to its first show in about a month, and I'm going to be doing a full detail video in preparation of that. Let me pull the car outside and show you guys the almost finished result, because it looks great without the door rails cutting the middle of the door. I don't know why Mazda put that on there to begin with, because it's not actually part of the door, it's just another little piece that's attached on with adhesive. So let me pull the car outside of the garage and show you guys what it looks like.
And look at that, guys, that looks way better. You can still see that little spot that I need to get rid of, which we're going to take care of in my next detailing video, which is going to be right before the first show of the season. This one little free mod does so much for the side profile of the car. Those rails really disrupt the lines of the car, and it looks so much better without it.
I am so happy with how that came out. For just a free mod that only takes about an hour or 2, it does so much for the car. I've got a lot of really cool videos on the way about the Mazda Speed 3, car detailing, and then there'll be some car shows coming up in about a month with exotics, tuners, imports, everything you can imagine. So make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.